In this week's Salt AI weekly newsletter, we've got some crazy news from OpenAI.
I'm just going to throw this on. What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece.
Where they announced updates to their GPT model reminiscent of the movie Her. Then Google came back, traded blows at Google I/O with the most capable video model that they've created to date, and so much more. And we've got a major release from the SALT team highlighting workflows that can use LLM agents and audio reactive workflows of the highest caliber. We'll try and cover that and a whole lot more in this week's video newsletter. We've got a lot to cover, so we'll get right into it and move along quickly. So many of these announcements, I'm barely going to scratch the surface, so I really encourage you to dive in a little bit deeper in anything that really interests you. Like I said at the start, there were two big events this week, one from OpenAI and one from Google. OpenAI announced their GPT-4o. O stands for Omni, so it's a model that can natively reason across audio, vision, and text. That means no more converting from text to audio or vice versa. It can just work out of the box. There's examples here from teaching math.
Would the answer be 7/25?
Excellent work.
Two GPTs singing to each other, and a whole bunch more. One thing that really stuck out to me was just how often people were holding out their phones and pointing them at things across OpenAI and Google's demo, really driving home to me at least that glasses are a great form factor for this. The Wall Street Journal actually had a good article about the AI gadgets that are coming out and how some wearables like the Humane AI pin and the Rabbit R1 may not be great, but Meta's Ray-Ban glasses just might be. And that form factor is clearly popular because there was a Llama 3 hackathon with 500 engineers participating, and while there were projects like an AI-first CRM or activation or research into language model censorship, the winning team OpenGlass showed how with $20 you could turn any gadget into AI smart glasses. So clearly there's some interest there. Meanwhile, it definitely wasn't all roses this week for OpenAI, because just afterwards, their chief scientist and co-founder Ilya Sutskever is officially leaving, and he wasn't leaving alone. John, who is co-leading Super Alignment, also announced that he resigned, and with both of them leaving, that makes all three of the leading members of the OpenAI Super Alignment team having left in the last couple weeks. That team's whole focus was making sure that AI and humans can collaborate well together, so OpenAI is drawing criticism as a result, though they're clearly trying to take steps in that direction, as they also published a write-up about Media Manager and how they're hoping for creators and content owners to own access to their data, and introduced the model spec, a way to try and deepen the conversation with the public about how they're trying to influence their models. Shortly after, Google clapped back in so many ways. Google I/O was the next day. They released a whole bunch of new models that were cheaper and faster, though no new benchmarks and not state-of-the-art. They announced a new image generation, video generation, and music audio studio, but again with no benchmarks. The quality, though, looked great. And there were a lot of conversations around agents and assistants, with Google DeepMind having a video showcasing Project Astra, which can be used to ask questions to in real life.
Can you see something that makes sound?
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
They announced other things related to hardware and products, but to me, again, this video showcased just how important the glasses form factor is, and hidden in their presentation, they actually teased a pair of AR glasses. In that video, they blurrily pick them up and then display them a little bit later, but these glasses look a whole lot like Project Iris teased in 2022, which itself seemed a revitalization of the polarizing Google Glass. Google also announced how they're starting to integrate AI in their actual tools. Here's an example from Gmail.
Now we can ask Gemini to summarize all recent emails from the school.
And so you can see that you can ask questions across your email, and you can imagine how this can extrapolate to all their products. It's about time, because the community was starting to do it anyway. We can already see people starting to use Llama 3 and these open models to generate PowerPoints or tie into these tools. Lastly, they were announced last week, but AlphaFold 3, a game changer in the medical field, as well as new medical models that do great on things like analyzing chest x-rays. Clearly, medical still a big focus for Google. Shifting gears a bit to something you guys know that I love, this week was a big one for robotics. Tesla Robotics announced updates to Optimus's hands, operation software where people can control them virtually with goggles and gloves, a large fleet, and what kind of tasks and environments they thrive in. Elon Musk tweeted that this was just the start, and I believe him. Bloomberg was reporting this week that Musk is nearing a funding at an $18 billion valuation, raising about 6 billion in order to pursue XAI. High quality data from X and other sources are clearly of value here, and it tracks back to what Elon has said in the past, that there's two sources of infinitely scalable data: synthetic data, or that we use language models to actually create themselves, or real world video, like the video they capture from their Tesla fleet and maybe from their robots when they're deployed. Hugging Face released Le Robot, a state-of-the-art machine learning for real-world robotics library. Researchers from Google DeepMind and Penn showed new research with robots balancing on top of exercise balls as a way for moving around. People also got really excited about a new AI robotic vacuum cleaner and mop around the house. And Unitree, a high-performance robotic manufacturer, announced that you can now buy a humanoid robot from them for $16,000. That's it. Just a year ago, it would take about $100,000 to get a humanoid like this delivered. Incredible progress in such a short amount of time. And if you want to, maybe you can buy this robot and apply some open source research like humanoid parkour learning, or so many other pieces of research that are coming out right now. Another announcement this week was from our Salt AI team launching our beta. I'd really recommend you check out this blog post where we show different examples and how you can get them to work. You can create a new workflow and then deploy it instantly. So say you really wanted to make use of this audio reactive workflow I showed at the start, you could really quickly go to getsalt.ai, wire something up and hit deploy, and then write in Discord with a simple command. I can use that same workflow. And you can see the result of those right in chat. And this is something you could use in Discord from web or your mobile. I'm so excited to see what people build. Shifting gears to the language model focus of this week, there's been some analysis into Llama 3, and some takeaways are that it beats other models on open-ended writing and creative problems, but loses on some close-ended math and coding problems. As the prompts get harder, Llama 3's win rate drops, but generally their outputs are friendlier and more conversational than other models, which can be pros or a con. One thing Llama 3 does seem to be really good at is in-context learning, or matching an example that's given to them. This tracks with a lot of recent research showing that if you give long context examples, it can get a whole lot better. There's some risk to that, with some research showing that their reasoning ability degrades if you put in a long input, but it may be because it loses relevant information if you put too much in that's not relevant, or it can ignore instructions if it can't key in on those. With that said, one thing worth calling out is this is the worst models are ever going to be. There was some new research from Meta that showed that language models, which right now only look at predicting the next word, could improve by predicting more than one word at the same time. And notable researchers like Sepp Hochreiter are continuing to push forward some foundational pillars like long short-term memory that could also lead to improvements. These improvements get more and more important as people start applying them in agents. There was an awesome paper this week on a survey of progress and challenges in multi-agent environments, where they called out popular agent libraries and the different ways and fields people are using them, and how. Should they talk to each other, talk to people, pass messages between themselves, and what options are out there and the trade-offs they provide. If you're still not sure on what agents are, Hugging Face released their agents framework that I think did a really great job of calling out what it is to be an agent. An agent is just a program driven by a language model that has tools. These tools can be anything from pulling information from somewhere to creating images to implementing brand new tools that come out. Like you could, if you wanted, give an agent the ability to use Distill Whisper and the new HQQ1 bit to transcribe hour-long videos in 20 seconds, for example. Or when it gets released, tie into the 11 Labs music API that was recently previewed this week. We'd ride all night. They also dropped a little bit of an unhinged example of it rapping.
Of the future as I log off from the virtual lab and step out from the city.
Continuing right into updates in generative AI, we saw people playing around with Adobe's Project Neo, which makes a 3D scene, and how compelling that can be in combination with generative art. But they weren't the only people exploring 3D. Autodesk, a tool for mechanical engineering and manufacturing, actually announced their research project for generative AI 3D shape creation that they see being used across architecture, product design, entertainment, and more. You may also have missed it, but OpenAI included an example in their new GPT-4o presentation, being able to generate 3D renders directly in chat. Meanwhile, Google wasn't the only one to release a new video model. ByteDance released Story Diffusion, which can generate short and long form video content like what you see on screen now, but also comics and images with consistent characters and style. And people are starting to use these tools to make some really compelling content. Like, I really loved this video called The Hardest Part that was made by Sora and posted a couple weeks ago. I think this is a great example of using the strengths of these models to tell a really compelling story while working around their limitations. Meanwhile, the backbones of these models can continue to improve, and even though we're waiting on Stable Diffusion 3 to launch from Stability, it's not holding back everybody else. Tencent released a free Stable Diffusion 3-like architecture model that claims to be state-of-the-art. China is continuing to push out research just on the edge of state-of-the-art. Lastly, there were some big updates in the Comfy world again this week, with Nathan Shipley writing an awesome write-up on Comfy workflows, layout, and legibility, on some guidelines on how to organize workflows, making it easier to share and how to use labels. There was a new ControlNet model, Misto line, that was released for SDXL, and Kajai made wrappers for the IC Light nodes, giving creators more control over the lighting of their outputs. Now, because I'm trying to keep this within 15 minutes, we're going to try a new rapid-fire section with so many different things I couldn't include in the rest of this video, and hopefully you can check them out if you're interested. The LinkedIn AI team published their musings on building generative AI product, a write-up on their learnings over the last 6 months trying to build a new AI-powered experience. Harrison Chase, the CEO of LangChain, talking about the future of Gen AI apps where you log all of your language model outputs, you log any feedback for those outputs, you use that feedback to build data sets of what's good and what's not, and then use those as examples to improve it down the road. This seems like a no-brainer, something that's hard to set up, but will improve your results downstream. If you're looking to train a model from scratch, you might want to check out the Chushin team that open sourced their model's weights, architecture, training data, and more. If you are using LLMs and generating a whole bunch of content, you may be generating some slop, which is the new name for unwanted AI-generated content. There's some research into glitch tokens that might have your LLMs generate unwanted content. There's a new $100,000 human preference prediction competition ran by Limsys and Kaggle, which again shows that benchmarks are important and they're hard. There's rumors of AI pushing hard into the legal space. Google AI celebrated the 10th anniversary of their Connectomics team, and in celebration published what seems like valuable data around the human brain and how it connects. And to close us out, here's some new models and data from this week. Llama Next, an image and video understanding model that can caption videos or images, was released. You can try this on Salt today. DeepSeek released V2, an open source mixture of expert model. Yi just announced a family of language models Apache licensed. IBM released some Granite Code models. New Research announced their first model on Llama 3, Hermes 2 Pro. And Refuel announced Refuel LLM2, the world's best language model for data labeling, cleaning, and enrichment. On the data side, we saw a new data set to help train AI systems for capturing CO2 from the air. WildChat, a million ChatGPT interaction log, was released. The Web Instruct dataset, which is a dataset of 10 million instructions, refined to QA pairs. And lastly, FineWeb, the 45 terabyte dataset that was just released by Hugging Face, is now the number 4 most liked dataset on the site. All right, thank you so much for bearing with me for this jam-packed week of what's new in AI. Please comment below if you have any questions or suggestions. Hope to see you next week.